Welcome to Ask the Church, our video series where we seek to answer your questions on church worship, practice, and theology in under 5 minutes. Today's question is about the Anglican Church Communion and its governance. And I want to read the question because it made me laugh. The question goes like this. Since I've been learning more about Anglicanism, I've been hearing a lot of talk about primates and provinces. All my life, I've been thinking primates were creatures that lived in jungles, and provinces were a unit of government in Canada. What do these words mean? Before I plunge into the answer to the question, I should note that primates also live in man-made jungles because many scientists consider us primates, but that's besides the point. And whenever somebody asks me about Anglican church governance, I always ask them, how much do you want to know? Because you could give the 2-minute answer or you could give the 2-hour answer. You can talk for a long time on these things, but I'll keep it brief today. A province, and I'm going to start there, is a discrete part of the worldwide Anglican Communion. In other words, it's an individual member of a greater communion, and it's an individual member that governs itself according to the Anglican way. And this individual member is usually the same size, what we would call coterminous with the country that it's in. So for example, the Anglican Province of Rwanda covers the entirety of the country of Rwanda. It's a portion of the broader Anglican Communion, but it's a discrete unit within it that governs itself, that covers the entirety of the country of Rwanda. And most of these provinces are the same size as the countries that they actually represent. And what they are is an independent part of a broader communion. Now, they're not independent in the full sense because they're a broader communion, part of a broader communion, but they do govern themselves locally. They're the historic episcopacy, the historic part of apostolic succession, active in a particular place. And each of these provinces is led by a primate, an archbishop. The word primate comes from the Latin word primus, which just means first, the sort of first bishop of this province. And so there's an archbishop over the province. Now, it's actually interesting that even though these provinces are usually coterminous with a particular country, there are places where there are multiple Anglican provinces in the same country. Actually, the sort of worst example of this is in the United Kingdom, where there's actually there's the Church of Wales, there's the Scottish Episcopal Church, there's the Church of Ireland, there's the province of York, and there's the province of Canterbury. There's 5 Anglican provinces in one modern country. But normally, the country is the same size as the province. The point is that the communion is broken up into what we would call, according to sort of American government ideas, member states. They're bound together in a larger communion, or we think politically in a larger federation, but each of them in some sense govern themselves. They have their own systems within them. They obviously have a lot in common. They're supposed to have their theology in common. They're supposed to have their basic modes of worship in common, their church governance in common. It doesn't always work that way, unfortunately. But these provinces govern themselves within this broader communion, and each one is led by a primate or an archbishop. Now we go a little farther. Each one of these provinces is broken up into what are called dioceses. And so if you think of a province like a country, the diocese is like the state. And so our diocese, the Diocese of Christ Our Hope, is a part of a province, the Anglican Church in North America. Now, the diocese itself, which is governed by a bishop, and so the whole province has a council of bishops or a college of bishops led by the archbishop, but each province broken up into dioceses, each diocese led by a bishop. But the dioceses themselves are oftentimes broken up into subcategories. They're they're like an American county. They're counties within a state that are actually they manage some internal affairs on their own, even though they're a part of a broader state. And those subdivisions of dioceses are called deaneries or archdeaconries. In our diocese, we have deaneries, and there's a technical difference between an archdeaconry and a deanery, but I won't go into that now. There's a lot more that can be said, but I hope that brief sketch of Anglican church governance and the Anglican Communion helps rather than confuses. As always, if you have questions, send them to stephen@incarnationrichmond.org. Thanks for watching Ask the Church, and now go in the grace of our Lord.